Hello from a very windy west of England, getting windier in fact. Randolph McGee and one other, whoever you may be, thank you very much for subscribing. It's very nice, very kind of you, thank you very much. I thought today I would do something on airbrushes and compressors, as I said I would do, and tell you what I've learned thus far, because I knew absolutely nothing about airbrushes and compressors when I started this, but having bought a lot of 135 scale tanks and vehicles and stuff, I knew at some point I was going to need an airbrush if I was going to do them justice. I know there are some of you out there that paint wonderful models with brushes and stuff, but I thought I would get an airbrush and a compressor. So I started watching videos and sort of reading about this, and first thing I learned was what you really want is a compressor with a tank on it. If you can go the extra half mile, what you want is a compressor with a tank on it. This is a 3-liter tank, and it makes a difference, principally because the thing is not running all the time. If you've just got the compressor, then the thing is running all the time to power your airbrush, and they do get hot. So this will definitely help to prolong the life of the compressor. What will happen is when you fire it up, we'll fire it up in a bit, what will happen is the compressor will charge the tank to whatever pressure you set it at. Once the tank is full, the compressor will then cut out. Once you've been spraying for a while and the pressure in the tank, not the compressor, the pressure in the tank drops to a certain level, the compressor will cut in, refill the tank, and then cut out again. So it gets a break, the compressor gets a break, it's not running all the time and flogging itself to death, powering your airbrush. The other thing is that I've come to learn is if you've got just the compressor powering your airbrush, the airflow may not be 100% constant. You can get pulses and like little spits in your airflow, which when you're painting something is not what you want. So that's another reason I've come to find that you want a compressor with a air tank. So that's what we bought. You'll see here a little red gadget. That's the pressure release valve. When you finished painting for a session, any residual air left in the tank you can release with this valve. Just unscrew it and let the remaining air out. You don't want to store it with air in it. At the bottom here you can just see, if I put my khaki fingers in the way, you just see there's a drain plug, because you will get a little bit of moisture build up in your tank, so periodically you want to let the moisture out by undoing the drain plug. Here is your air filter cum moisture trap. Any moisture that gets trapped in here you can release with that. And on top is the adjustment for your pressure. You lift that up, twist it, push that down, that locks it in place, which I think is a nice idea. And round the back here, I know you can't see it, but round the back here is your pressure gauge, which is done in PSI and also in bar. And the consensus of opinion seems to be, for spraying, you know, your average model or miniatures, you want it around 2 bar, which is sort of around 30 psi. That's sort of really where you want it set, which is what I've set it at. Although I've not fired this thing up with paint yet, I've still to get that far. And here is your connector for your air hose. Now what I learned, or what I come to find with air hoses, is the best type to have, consensus of opinion again was, the best type to have was braided air hose, which is what we got, and it's just got a little screw threaded bit on the end, which you, hopefully, I've got khaki fingers, just screw on like that and away you go. And your airbrush, this is all going to be tangled up now, but your airbrush fits on the other end. What we'll do in a minute, I'll get an airbrush and we'll fire this up and you can get an idea of how noisy it is, and it's not very noisy at all actually. As regard to your airbrushes, apparently there is 2 types. Let's open my, you can get what's called a gravity fed airbrush and a siphon fed airbrush. Now I bought 2 airbrushes, a cheap one and a reasonably expensive one. My thinking behind that was that I could use the cheap airbrush for things like primer and varnish and stuff like that, and I would keep the decent airbrush for painting. So here's our cheap airbrush, and as you see it comes with this bottle for siphon feed and the cup for gravity feed. Again, the consensus of opinion was that gravity feed is the way to go. A little bit fiddly to do this with my fingers. There you go. So there's your gravity feed with a lid on it, which I'm not going to be able to get out. There you go. There you go. And just pop the lid on when you've got your paint in it. And we'll connect that to our air hose. So now in theory we're ready to go. The button here is a dual action button. Some you just pull the thing back and it works. Others you can control not only the amount of paint but also the airflow by pushing the button down and pulling back, so it's sort of dual action. I guess with airbrushes it's one of these things you gotta find something you're comfortable with and what you're happy with. But that's our cheap airbrush. So let's fire this thing up and we'll see, we'll charge it up and you can hear what sort of noise it makes. It's not loud at all actually. So once this is charged to 2 bar 30 psi, the compressor will cut out. There you go. Now we're ready to go. Now we're ready to go. So now we're spraying. Once this tank gets down to a certain level, you'll hear the compressor cut in again. You start. There you go. Now it's cut in again to top up the tank. Once that's topped up again, it'll cut out again. I'll turn it off now actually. And we'll assume now that I finished painting for the session. So what you can do now is release the residual air with the release valve. So there we go. I'll just tighten that back up. So it's ready for the next time. There you go. And I have one other airbrush here, which is a straight gravity feed, which is by Iwata, which is you can sort of see the difference in quality with the two. I couldn't seem to get one of these in this country. I had to send all the way to Japan for that, which actually didn't take long to get here, about a week, just over a week, and I had it. So looking forward to having a go with that. But that's what we've learned thus far about airbrushes and compressors. I hope you found it sort of interesting. If I find out any more, I will let you know. But there goes my clock again. 5 o'clock. I'm pretty much a novice at this, you know. It's going to be interesting firing this up with some paint in it and seeing how I get on, as and when I've got time. But that's what we've learned thus far. So, oh, excuse me, gonna go and have a cup of tea. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. We will see you on the next one.